Welcome to Porch Play Chat, sponsored by the American Association for the Child's Right to Play, or more affectionately titled IPA USA. IPA USA is the USA affiliate of the International Play Association, and as part of our efforts to promote play, we've introduced Porch Play Chats, which are just one of the ways that we advocate for the child's right to play. So I'm Deb Lawrence, president of IPA USA, and with me on the porch is Kim Adams. Kim, welcome.
Thank you. Good to be
Kim,
here.
Kim is a frequent one, and if you haven't watched her last one, she took us on a tour of the most beautiful play-based school. So you should, Barron Park Play School, which other people are adopting, by the way, the play school thing.
Good.
Kim holds a degree in creative arts from San Jose State University in California and has over 30 years of experience educating, directing, and operating preschools and child care centers. Since 2001, Kim has been the owner of Barron Park Play School in Palo Alto, California. She's an advocate, an educator, a speaker, and a certified positive discipline parent and classroom educator, and is just finishing up her master's. Kim enjoys, yeah, I know. My master's was my favorite degree. I just loved it. Kim enjoys leading workshops, staff development seminars, and delivering keynote presentations, working both in and out of the classroom weekly to hone her skills and inform her practice. Kim has an in-depth understanding of how children perceive and interact with their world and is a champion for keeping play in early learning. I just love that. So today, Kim's going to talk to us about playing for keeps, building communities of choice, wonder, curiosity, and delight. And so she's going to kind of help us figure out some ways that educators can add more of those things in their daily routines, even under all this crazy academic pressure that we're facing. So Kim, take it away.
Thanks, Deb. I think I'm curious about the topic, mainly because I am just finishing up some action research for my master's degree. And it was, what I did was I worked with a group of transitional kindergarten teachers here in California. And we created a focus group to support each other in our play-based practices. And part of doing the work was doing some research, and I came across, unfortunately, at the end of my action research, some some researchers they were from Harvard's Project Zero, Magina Baker and Jen Ryan, who were doing something called playful participatory research, which was brand new to me. And if I had known it at the beginning of my journey, I would have done that. And what they did, they were working with educators to enhance their play-based pedagogy. And they found some indicators of playful learning, and that was the choice, wonder, and delight. And so teachers could take a look, and we all want to know, well, what is this play-based thing, right? And I don't even like using that term anymore because it's everybody's play-based, right?
Right, everybody, until you see what they're doing.
Right, the most academic programs are also play-based.
Yeah.
But without judgment, like how do we enhance the kids and the teachers' experience of play in our environments and make them more play responsive, right? This is a nicer way of maybe looking at it. And so taking a look and seeing, like, where do we see choice? Where do we see wonder? Where do we see curiosity and delight? And what I'm realizing is we often are looking at the children's experience of those things, but I think we also need to look at the grown-ups' experience of those things.
Oh my goodness. So much more rewarding, isn't it?
Yeah.
So much more.
So in the context of community, because we know everything that we do is based in relationship, right? Like we can't do anything else without it. The same holds true for the educators. And so in my research, this focus group really found that being together in community and making tiny shifts Just really
Mhm.
small shifts to the environment or to our practice really made a difference for the children. And the piece that I'm really curious about extending is this, and how do we experience choice? How do
Mhm.
we experience wonder and
Mhm.
curiosity and delight? And what do those things mean, right?
Mhm.
So yeah, just thinking about the difference between what do those things actually mean? And I'm thinking, like, what's the difference between curiosity and wonder, right?
Mhm.
Um, and what I've come up with, just I think wonder is that awe, right? The
Yes.
the open-ended exploration, like being really present in the moment. And
Mhm.
we want that for the kids, and kids live that way, but we need it for us.
Yeah.
Like, so where do we see that in our day to day? What brings you wonder, Deb? Like,
Mm.
what brings me wonder, right? And sometimes it's just watching what the children are doing, and like, oh my gosh, it rained and there's worms, right?
Uh-huh. So exciting.
It's so exciting.
It's really interesting one of the courses I teach, the infant and toddler one, they do the West Ed responsive
Uh-huh.
cycle,
Uh-huh.
right? Watch,
Right?
ask, and adapt, right?
Mm,
And so one of the questions that I ask them as they're observing their infant or toddler is, what is the child doing?
mhm,
And what do you wonder
mhm.
about what the child is doing? And
Right?
how could you support that child in their wonder without interfering? And and they come back from that and they say, I never wondered what they were doing
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
It's just, I'm sitting here, I'm assessing, I'm taking notes, but I never really asked
Wonder.
myself,
Yeah.
what is it that they're wondering?
Right.
Oh,
Right. And the wonder is a little different than the curiosity, right? The
mhm,
curiosity is like that drive to seek answers.
mhm,
And I think what you did for your teachers is give them permission to be curious and then look
mhm,
for their wonder, right? I think it's beautiful.
yeah,
And how can we do that for ourselves in our practice and
mhm.
for each other? Um, and then the delight piece is just we can't forget about it, like right. Right, right.
What
And
is delightful,
yeah, yeah. And so I think the secret sauce or the magic is to do this in community with like small groups, and it doesn't have to be a formal thing, but like your team teacher or even some of the parents, um,
Mhm,
or if you want to get like other educators and form a small group, and then just tell stories about what's happening in your space and what you see the kids doing and what you're curious about, and that builds sort of the wonder together.
mhm.
And then I can't overstate this, small shifts,
Little ones, baby steps, baby steps. Otherwise, you're overwhelmed. I mean, take a classroom of kindergartners who's never had choice,
yeah.
or who have never
Oh,
had been able to move materials from one area to another,
right.
or who've never really had child initiated play.
Yeah,
If they were playing, it was okay, you're going to play here and then you're going to rotate every 15
that's
minutes.
right. Yeah,
And so, yeah, baby steps, or you're going to
right. You
be
can't
as
open them all up at once. I mean, that would be crazy.
Mhm,
um and these tiny shifts, I think, like for example, one of the teachers in my focus group, the shift she made was bringing cups of water with paintbrushes outside into their yard. That was the shift for the week. That was her shift. And
that's it.
what she saw in the children's play
Mhm,
got her curious about what else could I do. And wow, this open-ended exploration brought collaboration between the children. She noticed a ton more. This is transitional kindergarten, so they're 4-year-olds. Language, reciprocal, receptive language, um, that all of the motor skills that are involved in where are you going to do that water paint on the ground, up high, on the fence thing. This tiny shift opened a lot, and then bringing it back to the group and talking about it brought even more. So it doesn't have to be huge, but it does have to be intentional, I think. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what other shifts did that one little success for her open up to her for like her future practice?
So she began allowing indoor materials to go out. So that's a big one.
That's a big one.
Allowed the children to make decisions about the materials in the classroom. She, she shared a classroom with another teacher who would be there in the afternoon and she'd be there in the morning, and they had to agree on the room setup. And so she was hesitant to make shifts in her space. But when she saw what was happening, it opened up some dialogues with that afternoon teacher. And they came up with some other agreements about where and what the children could do with the stuff in the room. I mean, it opened quite a bit, this one beginning shift, right? So extending, and another big one, extending the amount of time the children had to just play. Just play. Where all the real learning happens.
Yes. And then what I wonder that the teacher wondered is, wow, if they're doing this with paintbrushes and cups of water outside, what is it that they're learning and how is that integrated, right? Because it's language and social interaction and fine motor and gross motor, depending on where they do it, as well as, they were probably painting things, right? So all the writing skills that they're developing, and then cognition of I'm going to do this. I have to think about how that would look on this concrete or on the fence or whatever. It's so integrated when they can
social skills, because they were like painting around each other's bodies on the
fun.
Like, I mean, just the stuff that the kids came up with, all of it. Yeah, exactly. And I think that the thing that I'm like to encourage educators is to just be the interpreters of that development. You don't have to teach them, but you do need to get good, grammatically incorrect, but at being able to explain what's happening and interpret the development. I think the piece that's exciting for me that I'm discovering, and maybe it's not new, but it's how we do it, our wonder, our curiosity, our delight in this experience, right, translates to the space, to the children, to the families, to the other educators, and it really becomes a real play responsive, including our own, the grown up, right?
And I can't imagine how her face, she was probably pretty hesitant. I think I'm going to try this. And, and I'll see what happens when we take it outside. But I bet when she was describing it, she had joy and she was curious and she was thinking about what else she could try. And so it's that feeling of children experiencing, because it's contagious when children are experiencing that curiosity and wonder. And then you're able to describe academically or socially or whatever, what's actually happening and align it with whatever requirements you have to align it with.
Yeah.
And then teachers start to say, oh, wow, I don't have to just do math. Right? They were already doing math. They were already, drawing shapes, and they were probably counting how many things they had put on the.
What can I bring in to enhance this experience, right? How can I set this environment up? And that's a piece of what happened in this group too, was we created a shared, we use Padlet, but like a shared app for sharing photos and videos of what each teacher was doing in their space, which was really encouraging to each other to just see all the cool things that each other were doing. And this little group of teachers within this community started seeing big shifts, right? Like there, and we're at the beginning stages of this. We're still meeting but this idea of them finding a community, and then me, because it's action research, which I am a newbie, barely know anything about, but I was obligated to center myself in that research. So I also had to get curious. I had to like try and tap into wonder and delight in being with these people that are bringing something new to their children, right? So and my own experience as an educator, because I'm in the classroom still every day. Yeah, it's been a long time since I brought the whatever's out that, I mean, maybe it's not paintbrushes and water, but it brings back some of those. Yeah, it's been a minute. Let's bring the salad spinner out for the kids to do spin art, right? So,
well,
yeah.
I think the other thing that they're doing, because you're sharing it on that app, the other thing they're able to do then is to document it as a presentation for other people to see.
Sure. Yes.
Those other transitional teachers in that program, that transitional, is it transitional kindergarten?
So California rolled out transitional kindergarten under the umbrella of providing universal pre-kindergarten. My opinion was a horrible rollout. And there's a lot of not great things happening for children. Because it's not the fault of any educator. The ones that received the TK kids are the ones that had them before. But the rollout was, we're just gonna create a new grade basically in the public school system, and now there's transitional, there's TK, then there's K first, right? And took 4-year-olds out of existing programs,
which is awful,
and threw them into the K-12 system. And those teachers weren't prepared, and the spaces aren't ready for these children, and sadly they were taken out of existing programs with educators who were doing a great job. So that's a whole other Porch Play Chat, I think, about the difference between real mixed delivery and this. But what ended up happening is that we now have most of California's 4-year-olds in programs, and this year it's rolling, the age is going, like, they're going to be 3.
Oh no.
So 3 years, 9 months or something. So it needs to look different. It needs to look different. And so I'm delighted that there are a few school districts that I'm working with that actually get it. And I think at the state level, I think people understand play needs to be different for 4-year-olds. The spaces and the environments need to look different. And this is how I ended up with these TK teachers. I was brought in to kind of help this district embrace play, which I think is so beautiful that this leadership wanted it. And but how you make those changes for adults is also small shifts. It's not just like for the children. It's a trickle up and down sort of scenario. So we're trying to figure out what's the best way to help them. And I think this working in a community of other educators and sharing our experiences and bringing in our curiosity, our delight, and where we have choice, like all the things that are indicators of a play-based learning environment for children. If they're in the adult, they're gonna be in the space for the children too, I think. So
what I see happening in this Porch Play Chat is you've given a model for administrators who want more play. It could be principals, superintendents, directors, coaches, that this small group of conversation that supports each other and are documenting what their little small shifts are a really good way for others to begin to approach adding more play into every child's day, regardless of the grade level or age group.
Right.
And if you have the administrator and the superintendent's permission,
Exactly.
it makes it much easier. And
It
so,
makes it doable.
yeah,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they're not, oh, we can't do that, or oh, we're not allowed to do that. Oh, we have to, have
Right.
all these things every day, and they have to be really teacher directed, and we have to be in large groups.
Right.
Well, when I have done workshops and weeks with superintendents and principals, and I ask them, what do you want to see when you walk into a classroom? It is not that.
Yeah. You know what's funny, Deb, and you've probably experienced this too, but I do a lot of workshops, right? And I do them for administrators and I do them for teachers. And the thing I hear in both is if I'm doing it for administrators, I hear I can't get my teachers to do this.
Uh-huh.
And if I'm with teachers, my administrator will never let me do this. And I'm like, guys,
Hello, look here.
what's
Well,
happening?
and when I would say to those principals and superintendents, well, how are you communicating?
Right.
This is what you would like. And I use that disposition sheet, the positive that I use all the time in trainings that I created. It's the positive dispositions and the negative dispositions because they're learning both, right?
Okay. Uh-huh.
And so I asked superintendents and principals, what do you want to see?
Yeah.
Oh, I want to see children being curious and discovering and communicating and engaged and taking initiative. And I
Yeah.
said, and what are you seeing? Oh, I see frustrated and out of control behavior. And
Mm.
so, and then I go, and why is that?
Yeah.
And they begin to recognize that. They say, oh, it's, well, we have this math program. And I said, well, is that really giving you the results that you're interested in seeing? And
Mm.
they go, no. Or, children have to be on their math iPad apps
Yeah.
for an hour a day. And if they're not, the principal has some connection to who's using the iPad app, what classroom. And if the teacher isn't, they come and say, why aren't they on their iPads?
Yeah. 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 I mean, there's a lot of opportunity for us to make a difference,
There
right?
is tons of opportunity, but it's so
Yeah.
interesting when you ask them, what do you want to see?
Yes.
Um, and then I always say, so what in Pennsylvania, they have this god awful teacher observation thing
Mm.
that the principals have to do. And I said, what if you just put that aside? Is that getting you what you want? No. Okay. What if you just, maybe you have to fill that out because that's what the state's requiring you to do. But what if you just look at dispositions and see which ones are in the classroom?
I think that's beautiful. What a great tool, Deb. I'm gonna steal it.
Oh, you're welcome to steal it. Because
Yeah.
it was really helpful for them to say, oh, and the teaching channel used to have free videos for you, right? But now they're charging you a
Mm.
subscription. But probably the video that I showed the most to principals and had them align it with Pennsylvania standards. Every group, every table would have certain sections of the
Yeah.
standards, and then I would have them look at the dispositions, and then I would have them watch this video called Skip Counting with Kindergartners.
Mm.
And it was small groups, individualized children. She scaffolded it based on what they were counting in their counting bags that are
Yeah.
puzzle pieces and puff balls and whatever. And so they would say, oh my God, they did this 3 standards in science, 4 standards in
Mm.
math, 6 standards in social and emotional development, 9 standards in language and literacy. And I'm like,
Yeah.
that's what you're looking for, right? And so they were like, oh my God, can I just clone that teacher? And I said, well, you probably have them.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're just not telling them what you'd like to see.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah.
it's this complicated, god awful um, these barriers that are just constantly put in place that make it difficult for people to see that what they're doing isn't happening.
It's a complex problem, which requires complex solutions. It's not a one and done, here's the thing to do. But what we know about change is that change can happen at any level of the system, and leadership happens on any level of the system. And what you pay attention to grows, and leverage points matter. So one shift over here can affect the big system here. And so getting back to the small shifts, they will make a big difference. So it is a bear. You're right. It's a big, sometimes ugly system that education is in. However, the hope is that on the personal and small level, we can actually make some change. We can actually make a difference. And I think these dispositions, just getting back to this curiosity and wonder and choice and delight, getting back to those dispositions, I think if we embrace them, we would see them grow and we would see them spread. And so we'll leave on a hopeful.
We are, because it doesn't mean it's impossible.
No.
It just means you have to keep chipping at that boulder that we're all facing, right? It's to keep it from rolling down the hill, smashing you. So, but if teachers get back to not being frustrated with kids because of children that are having to, comply most of the day.
Right.
And if they begin to see what play does, then teachers are going to
get curious about the kid, get curious about those behaviors instead of being frustrated about them, have a disposition of, I wonder what this is about. It would make a huge difference. I think our disposition will affect those behaviors. You and I know where those behaviors are mostly coming from, right?
Lack of choice. Being told what to do all day long.
Lack of choice, lack of being able to put our bodies in the positions they need to be in when you're 4 years old, right? And creative behaviors are really frustrating. We want kids to be creative, but they're really frustrating. But we,
you have to get what's happening, right? And you should be able to describe it. So when students are playing in the classroom, I know we've got to go, but when students are playing in the classroom, in my college classroom, and they're engaged, they played wherever they want to play. Once we're done, I say, here's what I wonder. And then they will talk about, I had no idea that I could do this with whatever it was that they were playing with. And I really enjoyed it. And I felt, it just made my day. I'm so much more relaxed. And then, and then, I had so much fun and I didn't know this person. And now I do know this person. We've been in the same class for 3 months, right? And I wish I'd known this person earlier and felt comfortable leaving my group, which is what I make them do when they play. And, and then I'll say, so what do you think children would feel? And then they go on and on and on. I say, and that's why play is important. So it's because this generation, the 16, 17, 18, 19, and 20-year-olds didn't have that experience.
Right.
So, it's very hard for them to see what it feels like, looks like, and how excited they are in that moment of playing. So it's a long road, but we can do it, Kim. We can do it.
I think so. We can't. We have to.
We have to. We have to for children, right? All right. So stay right there while I close this out.
Okay.
To learn more about IPA USA, visit our website at ipausa.org. Up in that top right-hand corner, you're going to find the links to Spotify, where Porch Play Chats are being uploaded. There's several already there for you. So you can listen to them on your drive to and from work or whenever you're bored in the car. You can find our Facebook page and you can be a friend. You can follow our Instagram page. And you can, I don't know what we do with Instagram, but you could do whatever you want to do with that. And then you could see our YouTube channel where all almost 300 Porch Play Chats are. And you can subscribe to that. So it's all there for you and it's all free to you. So please join us. Okay, Kim, thanks so much. For everyone out there. Keep on playing.